Day 2 at the winter meetings alongside Paul Hoynes. I'm Zach Meisel with cleveland.com. Hoynesy, not a whole lot going on today, but let's talk about the Indians and the pros and cons of trading a starting pitcher, because that seems like that's what every team calling the Indians wants to inquire about. What are some of the things the Indians have to weigh if they're going to make that kind of move?
Well, I think the first thing they've got to weigh is what they get back. I mean, they can't miss on it. If they deal Carrasco or Salazar, Kluber, or even Bauer, they can't miss. They've got to make a good deal, a strong deal, and not a deal that helps you down the road. They've got to get some immediate impact on this.
There aren't that many out there because this isn't 2000, this isn't the 90s, the steroid era. You've got limited number of hitters who are productive enough and can give you that middle of the order production that the Indians need. So if the Indians do that kind of thing, then they're left with a hole in their rotation, aren't they?
Right, and I think that's Chris Antonetti has been talking about it the last couple of days. I think they're confident enough that they could get they could get some help from the minor leagues. Maybe not on opening day, but two months into it, a guy like Clevenger could be ready. A guy like Plutko, am I saying that guy?
Yeah.
From UCLA? He could be ready. I know they really think a lot of him. So, and you've got Tomlin, you've got he could fill in. So you could I think they feel if they had to make a move, if they got the right kind of deal, they could have enough to keep going.
I actually studied economics in college, so I think I've got this down right. They need to make sure the return from what they get hitting-wise outweighs the loss in the pitching staff. Is that?
I
get my degree?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
All right.
It's a lot smarter than I am.
But so in doing that, I mean, if Carlos Carrasco is a free agent right now, he's probably getting 7 years, $150 million. He's getting one of these ridiculous contracts that all the other guys are getting. So how do you justify that and say, like what should Chris Antonetti be telling other teams he wants? I mean, if the Indians are talking to the Diamondbacks and they want A.J. Pollock, is that enough for a guy like Carrasco or Salazar, or is it not enough for the Diamondbacks?
Well, I think they have talked. Arizona and the Indians have talked. Pollock and Salazar. Those were the two guys, and I don't think that was enough on either end. I think, but now maybe who knows? Maybe the Diamondbacks come back to them. But I know that's kind of that's what they talked about yesterday morning.
What about the rest of the rotation? Do you think the Indians could keep Kluber, Carrasco, Salazar together and instead deal a guy like Trevor Bauer or Cody Anderson and try to sell high on him? Or is doing that not going to bring you enough of a hitter to really make that kind of move desirable?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because Bauer didn't have the best year. I mean, still young, 24, still almost pitched 200 innings, 11 and 12. The guy never gets hurt. He goes to the post every start. He's a guy that you could develop, but the Indians have bent over backwards for this guy. They've really gone out of their way to kind of welcome him in and go along with his programs. Would another team do that, and would you get the same exchange? Is he worth more to the Indians than he would be worth to another team?
There's no doubt the Indians need a hitter. You can't go into the season with an outfield of Cowgill, Almonte, and Chisenhall. And they're not going to go spend $20 million a year on one of these free agent hitters like an Upton or a Cespedes. So if you're Chris Antonetti right now, what do you do? Do you trade one of the starting pitchers? Do you trade a prospect? Or is that a tough decision that kind of depends on what your vision is?
Well, I think, if you want to go big, you probably trade one of your pitchers, or you package some of your prospects. There's also a guy like Rajat Davis, who I heard, they've made a one-year offer to, or they've talked about a one-year option, kind of type deal. He could help you. He could be a stopgap guy to, a Frazier or Zimmer or Naquin, one of those guys, your young center fielder. So, I think, what did he tell us today? They've talked to like 25 teams?
22 or 23 teams, about 20 to 25 players.
Yeah, so I think he's got some options there. And they're holding his big gun, they're the team that people are coming to see. So, they can kind of call the shots right.